Now, you say place your faith in something. I am not a believer in faith as I define it, is not a belief without evidence. It is a trust based on the best available evidence that you have. It is and evidence is a broad term, meaning maybe it's a spiritual witness, maybe it's whatever it may be. There is a reason why you have placed your trust in this particular thing. In this case, you've placed your trust in the proposition that there is a higher power in the universe, and that power you will call God. And then I have placed my trust in the notion that Jesus Christ is the best explanation for that higher power in the universe. And then within that, I have placed my faith in the proposition that Jesus Christ restored his church to the earth, right? But these are separate conversations that each require at some point to someone to, I always say faith is placing your bet, right? It doesn't mean there's no evidence. Like you're choosing where you're going to place your bet. Faith is a choice, but you're placing that choice because you know you have to make that choice. And so you got to place it isn't a question of do you have faith? The question is where you're going to place it, because you have to place it somewhere because you have to act in the world. And if you have to act in the world, then you have to have some kind of a coherent narrative for why. And my argument, I've recently read a book, really great book on presuppositional apologetics, is that the atheist and the people who reject even the notion of God, they live incoherent lives. They don't act as if God does not exist. They act as if God exists. And not only that, they act as if that God has all the characteristics of the Western God. You know what I mean? So there's a question of, are you really an atheist if you seem to always act in accordance with, if you don't behave that way? You behave as though there's value, all these kinds of things. And so to me, I became much less stressed when I started to realize that I have to place my faith somewhere. And what's nice is I can leave my faith where it is until someone shows me something better to place my faith in. I don't have to deconstruct. I'm doing the best with what I have rather than having to have the thing that makes perfect sense in all aspects. It's sort of like that thing about, democracy is terrible except for every other option.
Right. Yeah.
I'll tell you, theism sounds awful except for until you consider atheism. And, Christianity seems awful until you consider every other option. And the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints sounds terrible until you consider every other option. And at the end of the day, you have to consider the options and you have to place your faith somewhere. And so I'm like, well, cool. Show me something better. Show me something that makes more sense. Show me something that's more coherent. My submission is to the truth. And so go for it. But I haven't found anything. And so it's the story of Peter asking Jesus, where will we go?
Right.
Like, he says some crazy thing. It's like, you got to eat my blood and flesh. It's like, that's weird. Like, they're freaking out. Everyone's like, okay, I'm out. This is weird. And he said, well, where else are we going to go? This is weird. I don't get it. But where else? And I've become totally happy because you end up realizing how great it is when you realize how vapid and not sophisticated and empty other views and worldviews are. And so I'm kind of out here. One of the things I feel like I'm doing and what I'm doing is I'm trying to help people to realize that like what we have is amazing when you really delve into it, and it's profound, and you aren't going to find that somewhere else. So unless you want to live in nihilistic deconstruction where you just talk all day about what you don't believe in and live an incoherent life, like, yeah, go ahead, go do that. And you'll be miserable, meaningless, depressed, anxious, all the problems we see in our world, because that's what people are doing, because they can't handle it. They've lost the ability to place their faith in things because they think that faith is this, well, that just means I have to be blind to stuff. It's like, no, you don't. Right? And so I don't know. This is obviously a subject I'm very passionate about because it's something I've been through myself personally. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and hit the subscribe button. Also, if you want more content, including the podcast, go to thoughtful-faith.com. Thanks for watching.